Hello and welcome. My name is Lee Bamber and this is GameGuru live broadcast in the month of October. We've had a few emails asking what happened to the September broadcast. Well, due to unforeseen circumstances and at the last minute, I couldn't make it. So very sorry about that. I gave it some thought and I thought, you know what, that means everyone got an hour of their life back. So I hope you wasn't too disappointed when you tuned in at 7 p.m. BST and there was no Lee to ramble on for 60 seconds, minutes. Feels like hours. Alas, this will be the final live broadcast, from me at least. From November, we'll be releasing monthly video updates that covers both internal and community news. What this will allow us to do is to carefully edit and massage the video into bite-sized chunks of news. Rather than having to sit through 60 minutes, you'll be able to get a blast. It won't be an hour long, it might be 10, 20 minutes, might even be 5 minutes, depends how much is going on. But what we can guarantee with that is that when you tune in to wait for a video, it will actually show up and you're not relying on some live Lee to miss a schedule. You'll actually get it pre-recorded, edited, made sure it's right, and then you'll be able to tune in and watch it. We haven't got an exact schedule, but we're thinking it will be similar to where we was releasing the live broadcast. So look out for that update video at the last Saturday of every month. But we are happy to throw down the gauntlet, and we do welcome anyone to produce both update videos and even broadcasts, and we'll be happy to host them on our YouTube channel. So if you're interested in that, do let us know. We've actually already started a little bit of that. You'll have noticed some guest video footage on our YouTube channel, which we're really pleased about, and it kind of really works. So we're hoping to increase that content as well. So it will actually end up having more content and more stuff going on our YouTube channel. So I hope you look forward to that, and I'll have more news for you in about 20 to 30 days when we've actually bolted it down and figure out what we can and cannot do. We are not YouTubers, but we'll try our best. And because of that, because we're going to collect together all the news for our first video update, debut, pilot, if you will, I'm not going to go harking on about news today. Let's save all that for the first update. But what I will show you is what dropped into my inbox just today, actually. And I figured I'm just going to show it anyway because Preben, everyone knows Preben by now, he's just put this out the door. This feature request probably came into the issues board like an hour ago. He's already added it to his weapons maker. So what you're looking at here, it's a little thing, but it's such a powerful thing. It allows you to add an emissive texture and control its strength on weapons. So now your weapons that you might want to create can have this nice glowy effect, which is what we call emissive texture. Now this video goes on for a while. I think it is available on Preben's YouTube channel. Of course it is, because that's where I'm watching it from. But I also wanted to show this video not only because it's cool and it's eye candy and it's like a taste of what you'll see more of in a video update rather than just watching my browser and me talking on 40 minutes. It's the fact that this is actually being developed by a community member completely independent of TGC, and Preben actually has a Patreon page full of this stuff. This is just one of his latest projects. It was supposed to be called the Melee Weapon Maker, but there's as much projectile and shooty weapon functionality going on in there as well. So you can watch this video. It goes on and show you lots of different things, so I won't bore you with that too much. But this is the page you want to be checking out. It's Patreon Plemsoft, and you'll go to his Patreon page and you've got all of his projects that he's working on, including the weapons maker. And between you and me, not exactly confidential as this is a live broadcast, but already people have been using the weapons maker to start creating weapons with the view of maybe putting enough together for a DLC, then asking us to sell that DLC through a Steam page, which we are happy to do. We have a quality bar, so obviously you've got to hit a certain bar of quality. But if you exceed that bar and you've got enough weapons and they're not exact duplications of what we're already offering, we'll be very pleased to release them as a DLC. And it's things like this weapons maker. Some of the groundwork was already done, but you kind of had to hack it all together to get a weapon working. What Preben did was added a UI and made it super easy and intuitive, and accelerated some of the process that were really drawn out to knock up a weapon really quickly. Export that weapon, instantly works in GameGuru Max. Do that 10, 20 times, you've got a 20 weapon DLC on your hands. So thank you very much, Preben. I'm absolutely positive this is not the last thing we're going to see from the Plemsoft stables. So as I said, we're going to cram all the rest of the news into an update. But one last thing, it's a little thing, but I just wanted to point it out. This is our issues board. It's where we keep all our bugs, rather our bug reports. It'd be nice if we kept all our bugs in here because I'd nuke it. We have our bug reports in here, but we also have our feature requests. Feature requests outnumber bugs now, probably by 100 to 1. But I wanted to point out we've added some new tags to help us organise and decide when we're going to fix bugs and in what order. You see the officially reproduce tag, the one in the dark blackish border? Well, that tells us that someone from our internal team has grabbed this issue, reproduced it.
How's it going, you guys? It's Scott with Everyday Sword. Today we're going to test out two of the...
That happened before, you know. What that was when that video from Preben ended, it instantaneously started advertising. Welcome to the... It's a first world problem. So yeah, officially reproduced means we've internally been able to reproduce it. So the author doesn't need to worry. We've got a handle on it, and it's like fix is imminent when you see that tag. And there's another tag that's going to come on its way very soon, which is it's nearly officially reproduced, as in we are working on it now. And so it will transition from that tag that I don't think we've got a name for yet to officially reproduced. And that means when you see it in black, it's almost like in stone. Like, this is a real bug, this might not be a bug, this is a real bug, and you get the idea. And right now we've got 24 open. That means, I think, yeah, we're still on one page on GitHub, which is great. Don't really like it when it gets to 2 pages. Been out of the scene for a while. You've been watching the commits on GitHub. I haven't been hovering around maybe as much as, say, Preben, but I have got some priorities now that I want to focus on in order to get rid of some of these bugs. A couple of them are repeated, i.e. they're related, so fixing one fixes the other. So hopefully I'm going to be able to crack on with some of these bugs and get that number 24 down a little bit. Funny number. If you reverse 24, it's 42. Life, the universe, and everything. So as I said, I wanted to keep the news part of this broadcast short because as it's our last one, I wanted to open it up for some extra Q&A. And as it's the last one, I'm not going to put a time limit on this. Now that means, of course, is people who have only allocated an hour of their most precious time will have to leave, but don't worry, it's going to be on YouTube very shortly and you can watch it in sort of series. I mean, I don't think it's going to be like a 5-hour long broadcast. I'm pretty sure nobody wants a 5-hour long broadcast, but if you do have to shoot after 60 minutes, that's fine. You can find it on YouTube later. And I'm not forcing people to imagine all kinds of questions. If we naturally end after the hour, that's fine too. I just wanted to give you that opportunity instead of scurrying off. And also a small gift because of the questions you couldn't ask in September. So without further ado, we'll roll into our FAQ. Okay, I'm going to go through the usual ritual, and remember now this is 60 days, so I'm going to have to take a bit longer to retrain myself as to which button to press. If I select... Oh, that's not going to work. Sorry people, let me just relearn everything. Okay, so you haven't seen the chat yet, and that's because what I didn't do... Oh yeah, yep. I didn't break out the chat window. So if you didn't know this,
if you are doing a lot, if you do want to do a broadcast yourself, make sure that you break out the chat window, because then when you break out the chat window, OBS can detect that window, and then when it's detected, it can pick it up. So if I click that and click that, is that what we wanted to see? No, Lee, we didn't want to see that. You know, I think it's quite appropriate that the last broadcast has all of the errors reproduced from the very first time we did this. Let's try that one. That better? Yes, Lee, that is better. This is another thing you learn if you're presenting your demo in front of 1,000 people. It'll all go wrong on the night. There you go. I think everyone can see that now. Awesome. And I can see it on my... Don't press any more buttons, Lee. Right, I can see it on my window. So I'm going to scroll to the top. And I was reading the intros and the hellos and stuff like that whilst I was getting my dog to shut up. And I noticed someone was saying that the volume was a bit low, so I did find a volume slider and slide it up, and it seemed that was much better. So I hope that the mic, the microphone, is also loud enough. If it isn't, I'll just keep scrolling to the bottom from time to time, and if it is a bit quiet, I can... Oh, wait a minute. I think I'm already at maximum. So yeah, it don't matter. There's no way I can make this any louder without shouting at you. So let's see if we can find a question. And as I said, you can go nuts now. Ask as many questions as you like. You will get a chance to ask me questions in the future, just not in this format, that's all. Okay, hello. Is anyone else needing to turn their speakers? Okay, yeah. So I think we may have solved that, at least for that little music that was in the broadcast intro. Much better now. Okay, I think we can start looking for the real questions. So, as I usually say at the start of broadcast, I got into the habit of it a while ago. If you could drop a question mark at the end, some people even put the word question in square brackets, I can locate the question right away. And so, sorry if I've missed someone's question, but it looks like James H is the first one to use the question mark. And here it is. Now, it's been a while since I watched one of these broadcasts. Any sign of multiplayer support be even looked at for the future? I was hoping someone would ask about that, and third person. There are no plans to add multiplayer in GameGuru Max for the foreseeable future. That will be on my gravestone. Sorry, no. There are no plans, short or long-term plans, to add multiplayer support into GameGuru Max. Absolutely not. And there you go. And James H just follows up with a statement under that. So, Retro Game Block asks, is VR improved yet? Funny you should say that. That's something that we're tinkering with, like right now. What happened was when Prebin did the most excellent FSR optimization, which improves your game's FPS performance, etc., it kind of broke the stereoscopic rendering of the VR. So that's now been fixed. That's been pushed. That's a fix. But as part of that process, we spotted a few other things. As you say, improvements. Controllers not quite where you want it to be. Still not super happy with exactly how the stereoscopic rendering works. And so I'm going to be looking at that as one of my, let's call it my top 5 things. There's 2 things related to standalones and saving games and restoring them, where trigger zones are sometimes being a little odd in more complicated game settings, scenarios. But VR is one of the other ones, because it should at least work. Doesn't do much, but what little it does should work for you. So yes, I am looking at that. So expect some news about that in the next weeks. Okay, here's a question. Belts and braces, this one. Question at the start and question mark at the end. Okay, this is from Maverick. If we are going to pre-recorded updates, will there be an opportunity for occasional Q&A sessions in Discord like we have in the past? That is being discussed, actually. If we are having this regular cadence of a pre-recorded video update, and it's going out at 7 PM, for example, then maybe there is a Discord session after that. So if everyone watched it in real time, at the end of that, give or take 5 minutes, it could open up on Discord. So but we're still discussing that. We still need to look at the question of resource. But yeah, in principle, we had the same idea, so we should look at that and see if we can make that work for everyone. Okay, looking down for the next question. Another question from Maverick. Could we get an update on the new impact particle system? Is this being developed further?
It's finished. I'd say it's finished. I have implemented what I wanted to implement. I don't know if I can do a quick demonstration, or I've already got something I can demonstrate with. They just start all the way from the beginning. For those if this is your first, in brackets, and last broadcast, maybe it'd be useful to see how a GameGuru Max game is made. So let's say we do a new game project. We'll call it Lee's Thing. And then we click Create a Game Project, or you can just hit Return. Then you go into Level, which allows you to use the terrain generator to create a terrain of your choosing. I rather like the desert, so I'm going to choose that. Give it a name, Lee's Des. Save. And now, game has one level. This is your start marker. This is where your player will start your game. And the question was, have you actually worked on the volumetric particle system to replace decals? Well, for that, we'll need to do a couple of things. First one, we'll need a wall. So we'll have a wall, dink, and a player. I'm going to customize. You can give the player a weapon. So we'll give the player something like a magnum pistol. Yes, and lots of ammo. Thank you very much. Run that. If we go up here. Right. So you see that little, that fluff that comes off when you shoot the bullet and it hits the wall and you get that sort of bullet hole. That's not volumetric particle, that's still a decal, that's still mapped to the surface. But that little spray of debris that came off, that used to be a decal, no longer. It's now real volumetric particle and it comes off. So that works with obviously stone, with barrels. It can even work with a character. So if we drop in Astra, shoot, we should see some blood. There you go. So that used to be decals, it's now particles. The reason we wanted particles is if you try to do that in VR, decals look really stupid. It looks like a pack of playing cards floating around in the air. At least volumetrics work properly. So that's been added. It's added to the debris system and the hitting the characters and a few other bits and bobs. And it is built into the script system as well, so you can trigger that. So hopefully that gives you some extra things to play with. As you can see, there may be one or two places where decals still exist, like the ripples on water. But that kind of works because a decal's flat, water's generally flat, and a decal works quite well. Very hard to get a particle, a volumetric particle, to create a realistic ripple. Not impossible. But then the whole thing becomes moot if we, down the road, replace the water system with a better water system that has real ripples, you know, vertices manipulation, distortion. So you actually get to see a proper ripple instead of an image of a ripple. So hopefully that, by demonstration, answers a bit of your question. Sorry if you didn't mean that, but something else that's not been done. And in that case, it's not been done. Okay. I think that's probably a comprehensive answer. So that's trying to find the next question. A dink, dink, dink. Right, so we're at this dink. Okay. Question from Mesmerize. Question: can we change the new blood particle to be something else using the particle editor system? Yes, that's another reason. Those decals were kind of, you had to be an artist to create like a 4x4 animated thing. Now you can just go into the particle editor, created by Gabordines and kindly licensed to us in perpetuity and forever, and free to use for every GameGuru Max user, is the particle editor. So within here you can choose from an existing one, or you can create your own from scratch, and including in that is being able to create your own blood splat. And once you've created your own blood splat, you can then connect that to the particle system, and it will use that instead of the out of the box blood that you currently get that we've designed for you. So that's one of the extra benefits. Not only do you get really nice
are more controllable particles coming off your impacts and damage and things, but you can change it using the editor that's built into GameGuru Max. Okay, another question from Maverick. Is there any news of a Max-specific projectile system being developed, not just for guns, but for magic and spells? You know, I rather suspect that by the time I actually finish reading the feature request on the issues board for adding a projectile, Preben will have already added it to his weapons maker, making all my efforts completely redundant. There actually already is a projectile system that you can use right now. But again, it's like, it's all hacky. You got to read the guides, you got to go into gun specs and find little used fields and set them up. And then they don't do nearly everything that you want it to do. But you do have a projectile system in there if you wanted to cast a firebolt or a rocket or something like that. It's worth the efforts of someone like Preben, who can bring that as a front-end UI, but now everyone gets access to it, and projectiles become just this normal thing. And that's that last step that we haven't taken. So yes, projectiles are possible, but only for those who really want to get their hands dirty in the gun spec and creating your own models and your own textures and then fighting the system until it kind of works. And then it probably doesn't do everything that you want it to do at that. Okay, will you say hello? Hello. Okay, next one. Blood Moon Interactive question. Now that the project system has been implemented, what's the next planned feature?
Features. There's lots of feature requests. I invite you to click on the issues board sometime and have a look at it. But in all seriousness, I don't think we're quite finished with the bug fixing. I know that you saw 24 bugs on the bug base, but I still think that's just scratching the tip of the iceberg, as it were. We're now getting into the phase where people are creating not just little 1-level demos, but 10, 20-level games with a genuine interest in selling those games on Steam and wanting to have their users to have a great experience. For that, we still need to keep fixing bugs. We need to make things faster, more stable, more compatible, more predictable. All the little things that make a good game into a great game. That's nothing to do with features. That's just about making sure the engine delivers, does what it says on the tin, as it were. And I think we're still in that phase. So I'm not too pressed to start thinking about new features. I think when 4 or 5 games have been successfully released and well received, then maybe we can start looking at some of those big ticket feature items that everyone's probably holding their breath for. Please don't mention multiplayer. But there are some smaller features, I wouldn't even call them features, more like functional enhancements that will come through naturally. They generally come through when an artist has produced like 250 models and wants this extra little thing just to bring the content alive a bit more. And we're very happy to do that, because seeing game mechanics tied with a lot of art that you can just drop in and instantly work in your level is really cool for us. So you'll probably see functionality sneak in through that back door. But in order for you to take advantage of that secret recipe, you'd have to become an artist and produce 200 objects that are high quality. So good luck with that. All right. I think that question in the future. Oh, all right. I've skipped. Hello. Did it? Maybe I skipped this one. How are we to ask you questions in the future, if not in the live broadcast format? It's probably going to be a combination of email and Discord. I think those ones have really proved to be useful. We are going to be working on some other areas. I wouldn't say like AI powered, but certainly assisted by AI, so we can do more filtering, so we can get to the proper questions quicker. And all the questions that are like, are you adding multiplayer? We can actually have an AI just to pick up on that and give the stock reply. So we're working on some systems to improve that communication. But don't worry, this is not a communications blackout. We're just changing a few formats around. Okay, and the question is here. Has the particle system been fixed? Are the settings now hold it? Okay, so I must have skipped that and gone straight to this. So there you go. When we change the sliders, maybe I haven't answered that. Has the particle system bug been fixed?
Will the settings now hold when we change the sliders?
Yes, I think that bug has been fixed. I didn't fix it. I think Preben fixed it. Or maybe that was another bug. So, yes, it's fixed if that's the one I'm thinking about. No, it's not fixed if it's not the one I'm thinking about. But I know which bug you're talking about. It's just that it's very similar to another bug that has actually been fixed and not by me. Here's a question from Matteo. Can you add LODs? Level of detail for those who are new to the game development space. We already have LODs. Actually, again, you know, this we should just call this Preben's Game Maker, because now, let's say you take this wall for example, right? Stop wall, and you think, you know what, I want level of detail on that, so there's less polygons used when it's rendered right off in the distance, and it's basically a dot. Well, you can do that right now. All you got to do is go into the object library, find that wall that you was interested in, click on this button here, which is the full screen preview, and you'll find there's this new tool called LOD Generator Lite. Now, Preben created LOD Generator as part of his Patreon page, and you've got to be a member of his Patreon to actually get access to it. But he very kindly made a light version, then gave it to the GameGuru Max community for free, and then allowed me to connect it into the software so you could access it much like you've just seen it now. And instantaneously you'll be able to take any object that's in your library and then set up some LOD parameters and then create LOD for any object within your GameGuru Max level. How cool is that, and how cool is Preben?
Moving on to the next question. Ask a question about something I've done. Okay, can you really... I think this is the next question. From 3Com, can you realise a bit in the get screen widget value Lua command what's the widget is? Okay, let me translate. Can you talk a bit about the get screen widget value Lua command? What is it for?
Yeah, it's part of a pantheon of commands that allow you to create scripts that run inside your game that work with the HUD screens. So when I say HUD screens, let me show you how you would make HUD screens. So right now, I've got my little level, doesn't do anything really. You just go into the level and you get shot. But if you go here and you delete this, delete HUD screen, that's an example of a HUD screen, and then you click add RPG screens, this is a lot of HUD screens. What HUD screens are things like how your screen looks, so you've got your lives, your health, ammo, you've got what you've got in your inventory, you've got text things, you've got bars, sliders, maps, all the rest of it. But you can also have other kinds of screens, like what have you got, an inventory screen, so this is your HUD screen. So that value, that command, sorry, that you was just mentioning, get screen widget value, it's one of the many commands that allow you to interact with this 2D interface. So your scripts can sort of read a value that's there, put a value there, add things, hide things, show things, basically manipulate these screens. So the HUD screens are actually can become part of your game mechanics rather than it being a completely separate floating hard-coded thing. This is not very hard-coded. Yes, you've got editors that let you lay out the stuff, but once you've dropped it in, you can use Lua commands and scripting to actually manipulate all those and do what you want with them. So the command you mentioned was merely one of those many commands that let you use that system to manipulate the HUD screen system. Bloodmoon Interactive asks, do you have a gamer tag? And if so, what is it? What do you go by when playing games? Oh God. Last time I had a gamer tag, I was playing Meridian 59 and I was grey tattooing. That was the last gamer tag I had. And I think Meridian 59 is still going on a German server somewhere, but I'm certainly not a member of it anymore. When I actually stopped playing, I had an enormous bank balance. I'd done literally everything, and there was nothing else to do in the game, so I left.
So yeah, grey tattooing, and anyone who doesn't know who grey tattooing is, look up Terry Pratchett. Okay, next question, and I think we can go down to here, which is mesmerize. It's the question mark. I think that prioritizing VR over multiplayer is a little self-destructive. No. No. No.
You are quite welcome to go into the repository and add an entire multiplayer system if you like.
For me and mine, I think we'll finish off the VR system that we've already nearly entirely built. Thank you very much. Okay, bullet decals working now. Well, as you just saw in that demonstration, you saw I shot a Magnum pistol at a Aztec totem, and it actually curved out a chunk of masonry and left a bullet hole. It's the same bullet hole system that we've had for years and years and years, so it's not super advanced or anything. If you get it just right, the bullet hole can actually leave the surface and sort of hang half on the surface and half in thin air, which looks a bit weird. But that's certainly the bullet decal system that we have right now. Please clarify, Retro Game Block, if that's not the question you wanted asking, and I've actually answered a completely different question. Looking for another question. That's not a question. Is that a question? This is a question. Retro Game Block, Retro Game Block. Are you still planning to add rocks as part of the auto map creation? There are no plans to add rocks in the terrain generator system. It was an amazingly cool idea, along with populating the landscapes with animals and birds and fish and things like that. The code is prime, ready for that additional metric to be added to the biomes, and obviously custom biomes as well. But there isn't a roadmap in front of us and the internal team to actually add that, so we can't give you a date on it. But I think it's pretty self-evident that at some point it makes perfect sense. When we've already got grass and trees, and without having to place rocks down manually, it seems a bit mad when you've got a 5 kilometre squared area to populate. And then by extension, what else aside from rocks? Of course, it's you have a dead landscape unless you add all the animals and the critters and the creatures and who knows what else. So I think it's inevitable, but there's no roadmap for it right now. Okay, we're looking for a question mark, which is another one from Maverick. Can we get a guide to replacing impact particles with our own custom particles? I know a guy who's good at guides. Maverick, can you drop me an email about that? Because I have implemented it, but as is my style, I haven't told anybody about it. So if you drop me an email, I'll get a guide started, just so the facts are known, and then I am sure someone will pick up that scribble and turn it into a beautiful guide for our guides folder. Simply by way of a reminder. I dare say I would have got to it at some point, but you know, I like an email every now and again to keep me up the bottom. Question below is from Blood Moon Interactive. Define a released game. Does it have to be a commercial game on Steam? Absolutely not. No, anything that the author has considered complete, but more than a asset flip of one of the hub demos. Sorry, hub demos. So a genuine effort. So I've seen some projects. I mean, they're only four levels, really, with some interludes in between, but it felt like a complete experience. I would consider that complete. But I would be remiss if I couldn't help make sure that when that did get released, even if it's free on itch or something like that, that anyone who plays it has a good time. They're not going to get crashes, slowdowns, incompatible graphics settings, strange things happening, you've saved a game and it doesn't reload again. Stupid things like this, I think we should iron out way before we start thinking about features, etc. So yeah, that's what I would call a complete game. A nice rounded experience that the author is happy to call complete. So that's my definition and what I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking of releasing Cyberpunk 2077 anytime soon. Maybe in the future. Next question, and this is from Maverick. Can you lift the hard limit on screens in the storyboard? Are the HUDs and menus included in this hard limit currently? Yeah, it's it just got designed that way. We thought no one's going to need more than 100 screens. Of course, almost immediately we got screen 99 and they thought there's not enough screens here. The reason it's hard-coded and it's not easy to change is that the whole data structure is sort of sitting on this idea that there is only so many screen nodes in there. So we'll probably, it might be possible to just change that number and instantaneously be backward compatible with all the previous project systems. That's really the thing. We could certainly increase the number right now, but we could break everybody else's projects going back to the beginning of time, which obviously is not what we want to do. If that's the case, that we can't do that quickly, then it has to be a case of a new data structure and then a system that migrates old projects to the new projects, but the new projects has no upper limit. It's simply a linked list of as many things as you want in your file, and the memory is as big as it needs to be to hold all that data. So I'm not quite sure if the data structure is one of those, oh, that's easy to increase, or it requires a whole new data structure and a system to convert to it. But yeah, I've seen a couple of examples where that 99, I think it's 99 or 49, has been hit. And in both cases, it was justified. More screens were definitely needed. So yeah, that's something else we should be looking at. But I'm not too precious about that, because I think a lot of games and experiences can be done well within 99 screens. And it also means you're probably condensing. If you've got like 10 screens instead of 50, those 10 screens, the opportunities, you can have higher quality, more time spent on, more attention spent on them, and probably a better game experience for the user. So yeah, not high priority, but it's certainly something I would like to correct, so you're not hitting that wall with just as you're nearly finishing your game. Okay, I'm gonna have to scroll a bit, find out where I was, where I need to be. I think I need to be here. Matteo, can I create free 3D models for GameGuru Max? You most certainly can, and you will be joining a small army of community artists who've been doing so. Certainly in GameGuru Max for the last 3-4 years, in GameGuru Classic for go back another 7 years, and you could always go back to Basic Classic, which is over, when was that? 24 years, 25 years ago? Yeah. So there's absolutely no problem at all creating models and sharing them with the community. It's actually one of the reasons why we have such a great community, with its ethos of just creating stuff and sharing it for the hell of it. So yeah, go forth and make cool things. Okay, that's not a question. That's not a question. Is this a question? No. This has 2 questions in it. 2 question marks. Are you using the bug system as an excuse not to build in new features? Scratching chin, question mark, question mark. I don't need to make excuses. I just say it like I see it. So are you using the bug system as an excuse not to build in new features? Sure, if you like to call it that. I want to fix all the bugs before I add a feature. How is that? I think that's a smart move, and I think most people would agree with me. It's a very smart way of going about things. Why pile in feature after feature after feature and adding bug after bug after bug? Every game you save as a standalone executable will crash and burn. Does anybody want that? I don't think so. Okay, let's have a look at the next question. This is from Mohammed. Can you add an icon on the 3D object that can open the .fpe folder without looking for it in the Explorer folder? Thank you. Yeah, I think we have that. Let me think about this. Can you add an icon on the 3D object that can open the FPE? 3D object that can open the FPE folder. I think maybe Preben's already created that. Go onto his Patreon page. I think it's an object viewer. I think he done that. So another one of those, I just pass all the credit to Preben right now. So you saw the link earlier in the live broadcast. If you didn't, check out the YouTube channel later. You'll see the link. But just tap out Plemsoft Patreon. You take you straight there and check out what he's done. I think that's kind of what you're after. And I use it myself. It's pretty cool. Okay, question. Can you increase your mic volume? We've already tried that about 4 broadcasts ago. I was twiddling with the Yeti. I tried all 4 modes. There's gain knob up to maximum. I've got the OBS software's internal volume slider up to maximum. The registration noise bar is almost hitting the red when I talk right now. So there isn't really much that I can do except some sort of artificial amplifier on the microphone. And for at least this broadcast, turn up your speaker. And remember to turn it down when the broadcast is over, otherwise you'll deafen yourself when the first Google advert shows up unwanted. Okay, questions. Here's a question from Blood Moon Interactive. Is it possible to update the FPE of an object? Sure. To set the weight and the friction of an object so that each time it's used, it uses that preset. Yeah, that was always the intention. I'm quite surprised that that's broken. I haven't seen that bug report in a while. But yes, there is fields for both those physics attributes. The engine does read them, and it does preset those values in the object properties. And as far as I know, those two properties are respected in the physics simulation. So it's quite a long chain, but if you find somewhere along that chain it's broken, please post it in the issues board as an issue that needs to be resolved, because it's pretty cool to play with those values. It used to be when it used to work years and years ago, apparently. Okay, next question. This is from Praxa. Would it be at all possible to modify the storyboard to allow screens to be placed after the splash screen but before the menu? At present you can technically do that, but it skips to the menu. Oh, interesting. Let's have a look. So your idea is you got your splash screen, you want another screen here before it goes to the title screen. So I guess we'd add a new screen, and then you connect your splash screen to that, and then you haven't got anything to go to there. So we probably need some sort of a button to do that. So we can say, I don't know what we call it. There's so many fields now, and I can never find the text one. Go to menu, and then in the actions, nice little tutorial here. In the live broadcast, you get a tutorial, and it will be go to another screen, probably. Yeah, and then when you come out of that, you've now got a little tag. You can tag that to there. And there, you can do it. Now, that's how you're supposed to do it. If it doesn't work, and as you say, it just goes from the splash screen straight to the title screen, that, my friend, is a bug. And if you can add it to the issues board, maybe even reference this live broadcast recording at the minutes and seconds that I'm talking about it, because it'll instantly come to my mind, and then I should be able to reproduce it quite quickly. But yeah, as you've seen, I did it in the storyboard. You should be able to do that. If it's not doing it in your standalone, it's definitely a bug. Okay, we've answered that one. That's not a question. Is that a question? This is a question. Why the development slowed? Question mark. Why the development slowed? The development is coming to a conclusion. We released early adopter. We exited early adopter, I think it was a couple of years ago. We spent that much time finishing off the last of the features, and now we're down to 27 bugs. When we get to 0 bugs, and of course a couple of games released, etc., we'll be at version 1. Isn't that the purpose of a sculpture? That at some point the sculptor finishes and then stands back and tries to sell his massive lump of marble. So we're getting to that point now where we're twixt and between. After that, of course, it's up to the community to think about what features they might want, etc. But for now, really, it's just about bug fixing. So sorry if you're not getting all the juicy new features. We really just want to make this a nice, solid and stable version 1. And I think that's important, and it's been our priority for the last 6 months. Probably more, actually, and we'd like that to continue until it is a rock solid. Okay, another question. We're going down to Freecom. Can I work my load game, save game about etc as HUDs? Using the HUD lure commands to handle user interaction. I don't see why not. Load game, save game, and about. So basically you want to create HUD screens, so custom screens, but actually have them launch from within your levels, like so. Well, it worked in a very similar way then to all the RPG screens. All of these screens, HUD screen, they're all called up from playing the levels themselves. So you can bring up that screen, All you need to know is the name. Once you got the name, you can bring it up and then interact it with the lure commands. So that's in. Whether it's not well described or it's broken or there's not sufficient guides on it, then all that's fair enough. But it was always the intention that these screens are supposed to be part of your game, so you can customize them, add things, and then control them if you want to from a script running inside the level. That was always the intention. So if you're hitting a roadblock or a wall or a hole, do let me know, because that sounds like a bug as well. Okay, Retro Game Bloke, any thoughts on AI NPC? A possibility or no chance? Obviously, AI, the term, has been bandied about quite a lot recently. You're going to be choking on it soon, and you won't be able to distinguish what AI even means, because everyone's just using it for every possible scenario. And so it becomes a word that doesn't actually mean anything eventually. Currently, our NPCs do run using some logic systems to control their behavior. So if we wanted to be Puritan about this, I think when you say AI NPC, you're not talking about logical, scripted, behavioral NPC, but chatbot NPC, like ChatGDP or that kind of large language model AI controlling arbitrarily, outside of your control, a character running around the level. I'll put in the standard phrase. There are no plans to insert all of that I've just said here for version 1 of GameGuru Max. However, I have taken an interest in AI and where we are up to. The last couple of years, it's been a bit weak sauce, but I think in the last year, at least, it's starting to look interesting. And when I say interesting, it started to look like a system that can actually produce predictable results, and you can rely on the output. Not entirely, in fact, definitely do not rely wholeheartedly on the output of AI, but it's now getting to that point where they are becoming tools that we can use in a larger creative process. And as part of that, tying in some sort of AI into a character running around in GameGuru Max, that sounds like a very interesting project. It's not something I'll be taking up, but it's certainly something that maybe someone in the community could have a look at. I don't think it'd be that difficult to hook in a little bit of ChatGDP and having a character be controlled arbitrarily by the output of what ChatGDP has to say. So that'd be quite interesting. And if someone actually gets that working, even if it's just completely ridiculous, I think it'd be very, very amusing and should be part of one of our future update videos. So I'll be very interested to see if anyone wants to take that one on. I would, if I was really, really bored and had nothing else to do, because that is sounding interesting. But I'd like to see someone else do it, see what they come up with. Okay, Mesmerize, will we see some new official tree models for the terrain generator in the future? There are no plans to add any additional trees out of the box from us for our terrain generator. The ones you get are pretty much the ones you get for version 1. After version 1, there may be, in fact, there probably will be, in fact, there's a number of people who are absolutely insisting that there will be custom trees. So we won't add any more trees, but we'll show you how to add your own trees, your own models and your own textures, but using the tree system. So you can actually see your new trees that you've brought in, you've created, you've customized, you've brought in. But TGC aren't planning to create a tree library or a tree DLC, for example. That's not on the plate for us. Question, is this another question? No, it isn't. I've already answered that. Okay, ding, ding, ding. Capitals, capitals, capitals. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And sorry for all them noises. It's just I'm reading through all the things. I'm trying to find a question. I think I found a question from Praxa. Had a recent chat with Necrim earlier yesterday about aspect ratio settings. Any info when might be an option for devs to make that option available for players? Yeah, aspect ratio. Currently, aspect ratio is automatically set based on your monitor's resolution. So if you've got like a really wide screen monitor, it will just use that aspect ratio, so you're not stretching your game. So if the question is, can we force a change of that aspect ratio? I don't know why you'd want to do that, because you're going to squash your game either horizontally or vertically. There are no plans to to do that. We don't want to mess people's screens up. But certainly ask Netcrim to email me to say why such a feature might be needed, because currently I'm not assimilating the benefit of being able to do that. Okay, and a question underneath, is that a question? For the Mac, you could use a compressor in OBS, Audio FX chain. Yeah, I didn't know you could do that. That sounds cool. In fact, OBS, for anyone who doesn't know what OBS, what do you keep talking about OBS? OBS is the streaming software that I'm using right now in order to be able to talk to you, to share my screens, and to share this chat. It's very, very powerful software. I have really only scratched the surface of it. I probably could spend a year learning all the features of OBS. So if somebody wants to email me, it's lee@thegamecreators.com, a nice step-by-step on how to add an augmented microphone filter. I know it seems a bit moot, as this is technically the last live broadcast, but I'm always seeking to improve, and I think if I could learn that little thing, then that's one more thing that I know. So thank you if you can post that by email. Okay, and a question lands on Maverick. Will BB possible to add graphic settings such as VSync, SSR off into the graphic settings menu screen for the player? Yeah, that is long overdue, isn't it? I think, let me just show everyone what you're talking about, why it's scandalous. This is when you play your standalone game and you press escape, you get this. Obviously you can resume your game, you can go back to the main menu, you can load and save your game positions, but then you get these two, graphic settings and sound settings. Graphic settings, sorry, not that one. Graphic settings looks like this. This was designed over 10 years ago. And this was designed over 10 years ago. Not exactly what you'd expect in a modern game, right? Then you're right. I think that what we're going to do is, rather than just improve this, we're simply going to give you the gadgets. So obviously your buttons, there's only so much you can do with UI. You know, you can have an image, text, colors, position, etc. But what would be useful for you is that here, that you got more actions which actually control different things. So you could have depth of field, SSR on and off, and all the rest of it. I think that's how we'd approach it. It is technically a feature, so it's not necessarily something we promised for a version 1, but I think it's a pretty cool feature. And I think when games start to sort of want to get released and want users to take them seriously, we're going to have a better graphics, or at least more options in the graphic settings and the sound settings, and that's how we're going to go about it. I also think maybe it already exists as a feature request in the issues board, but let's play it safe. If you want to post a feature request on that and list out all of the things, even if you just screenshot all of the global settings at the level, for people who want to know what those might look like, I think I'm using the I'm not using the full version. So if people wonder if they're going to see somebody else's global settings and they have loads of menus and you only have 4, and you wonder why, it's because there's different modes. You've got advanced and you've got developer modes. So in advanced mode, you can take on all of these things and you get more stuff like this. See, sky properties, shadows. Now I've got post processing. I can change all of these. So the idea would be that you can toggle SSR, reflections, FXAA. You can change the MSAA dimensions, switching on SSAO, etc., etc., etc. And then having all of these exposed inside the screen editor system probably is how we go about offering that option. Not doing it ourselves. We're not really in the business of hard coding anymore. Rather, just give you more options and more ways to customize things so you can create more of your own stuff without waiting for us to do it. Okay, and scrolling past that one to another question mark, Mr. Dubai. Moon Interactive, the last one. I don't understand that question at all. What did I miss? 58 minutes worth. For more details, see the previous chat messages. Dink, 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 and question mark. But these, right, looking for a question mark that I can answer. Can you add a built-in object that displays a custom image texture? It would be very useful for common levels. An object that displays a custom image or texture that already exists. Go on Discord, ask the community. They will push you towards a script written by Necrim, and it does the job. And it's really nice and does what you need. And it's triggered by a zone, or it can be triggered by anything. It's pretty cool. Okay, question marks. Lord Thunderballs asks, wait, this is the last live stream, Maverick, question mark. Yes, it is the last and the live one. Blood Moon Interactive question on behalf of Ahmed and Hamad. Can you create more parts for the character creator kit? Or give us the ability to do so ourselves in the right format to fit the current characters. Yeah, the second part. That's what we'll be doing. We'll be providing additional materials, resources and guides on how you can create your own character creator parts. We already have it in place. I mean, you could do it right now. We have the standard male, female, zombie male and zombie female. But if you got any of the low poly DLCs, it adds another category, low poly characters. And that's the dynamic system. That's not hard coded. It just detects that there's an additional category and adds it to the character creator. And you could add your own category and have your own character parts and build up your characters that way. It is doable right now. It's not documented. So we'll document that, and we'll cooperate with anyone who genuinely wants to create character parts. You'd have to be a technical artist, not just someone who draws pretty pictures on paper, but understands 3D models, exporting 3D models, bone structures, naming conventions, all that kind of good stuff, in order to be able to produce the files necessary that the character creator can understand, and from that create all the variations of characters. And then if you want down the road, publish them or even pull them all together as a DLC. Retro 6502. 6502 was a chip on, correct me if I'm wrong, the VIC-20? Or was it the Commodore 64? A very cool chip. I used to program that in machine code. Okay, I think blah, blah, blah. And it wasn't even a question after all that set up. And that isn't even a question. Okay, here's a question from Blood Moon. And what will happen if Wicked Engine implements changes that prevent you from using it in the future? How will this affect Max, and what are your plans to keep Max going if this happens? Oh god, doomsday scenario, why not? Well, the good news is the current version of the Wicked Engine that we have, we're pretty used to now. So we did a 6-month experiment of trying to upgrade to the very latest version of, not the very latest as of today, the very latest version from, say, I think it was 18 months ago. And it was almost impossible to get the terrain and trees and grass and stuff over. Everything else was fine. It was just those custom bits that we had to create ourselves that mean we couldn't go up to the latest Wicked Engine. So we froze it at the latest of the DirectX 11 versions of Wicked Engine. And that's the source code that GameGuru Max sits on. And the license allows us to be able to do that. If the question is, if Janos changes the license so we can't do that anymore, I don't know. I'd have to start again and read all the legalese, etc. I don't think that will happen, but yeah, you never know. And then, of course, the question off the top of that, what would you do if that happened? I haven't the faintest idea. Now, do remember, way before Wicked Engine, I've been writing graphics engines and games engines since 1999. And we already have a graphics engine sitting in the old GameGuru archives. We already have all of that, and that's also DirectX 11. It's not an impossible scenario to reconstruct everything, but I just don't think it's likely. We could rewrite the entire graphics engine, but I don't really want to get into the business of writing another graphics engine. So all these scenarios are probably probably never going to happen. And if they do, I'd just have to sit down and have a proper think about how it would affect GameGuru Max and how it carries on. Obviously, any version that you've already got, that you paid for, that you updated to, that would be fine, and you can continue to use that. And then if you then grabbed a copy or forked the repo, so you can then continue to add your own stuff in your own time, then you would face same or similar legal questions as we would have. You know, can you continue to still use X amount of source code, or can you at least use the binaries, the object files that was last produced? So there could be no further changes to the wicked version that you got. But yeah, it's one of those questions that is a, what would we call it, a can of worms. You open that can and the worms go everywhere. So there isn't really one quick answer to that. It's like we'll deal with doomsday when you hear the explosions, but I'm not too worried about that particular scenario right now. Okay, questions. Looking for one. Here, we've found one, haven't we? Yes, we have, from Mohammed. Can hide object or character in view option come water or tree? Can hide object or character in view options. All right, in translation. I think you're talking about the view options section, which is this. And you want some additional filters so you can hide and show characters, hide and show. That's a nice suggestion. Look how much space we can actually, you know, that view options could go all the way up here and just keep hiding and showing it. So there is space for some more switching these things on and off. Obviously, switching off characters, do you mean just make them visible, or they literally don't fight you anymore? And you got to remember to switch them back on for your game to actually work properly. So yeah, it's a nice idea. Pop it down as a feature request and maybe grab a screenshot and maybe some suggestions of what you want to toggleable. I've played other editors and tools where they have a lot of toggles, up to the point where you've actually lost track of everything and you have no idea what's toggleable or not. Or everything's toggle or not, but there's too many options. You can't find the one thing you want to toggle. Which is quite like this. They can easily read through the 8 things that you can toggle. Sorry, the 7 things you can toggle. But certainly put it down as a feature request. If it's something that everyone gets behind, then probably make its way into a future version. Okay, looking for another question. This is, will we get new? Will we get... Sorry, my brain's... Oh, I've just noticed why my brain's gone into that mode. It's 6 minutes past the hour. Yeah, okay. Then I'll just have to read it slower. Will we get new graphic settings options instead of low, medium and high, for example, texture quality trees? See previous answer, I went into great detail and I even showed you something inside the software. That should cover most of our plans. Maverick asks, adding videos to screens in the storyboard is brilliant for menus, but can we have a PNG or similar added to in-game screens so we can have transparent animated files added to the play? Okay, so in translation, MP4s are good and everything, but can we just have a PNG that animates, and so we can do clever transparency tricks? Because right now, just to give you some context, if you have a screen, let's say after the splash screen you want some nice menu, some video before you go onto the main menu, then you can do this. Add a video. In the video, you can go into video browser and you can pick a video. So this one's pretty cool. Dink, and then you can change the size like so. Now that's great and everything, but it's basically just an MP4. And when an MP4 plays, it pushes everyone to one side and says, it's my turn, and all the performance everywhere else goes to pot whilst it plays its MP4. Not very good if you want a couple of them. What if you wanted videos after videos after videos all playing at the same time? And what if you wanted them transparent so you could actually interlock a couple of videos together and then have the videos on a loop and also have the videos where they're not impacting your performance so the screen still feels slick? All of these things are possible, and the request was, instead of an MP4, we'll have a special image file with a lot of animations in it that simply just plays through those tiles and then loops based on some attributes. The reason I gave it such a big send up is I think it's a really great idea, and it's also a feature request. So if you want to document that and put it on the issues board, absolutely. And certainly drop me an email of it just to remind me every now and again. I do think it's a good idea, and what it means is, just get rid of this for a second, you could actually create some very cool dynamic menus where there's things going on, smoke in the background, nice little animations going on in the corners, etc., etc. Really gives your menus and your in-game screens a chance to pop. So I do like it. I think that request will be fulfilled when someone really knocks my socks off with a game that's nearly finished and they want to make a killer menu. And they say, right, okay, I'll add it. So add it as a feature request if it isn't already there, and then give me a reason to add it. Or is that for a gauntlet throw? Okay, that's all my questions answered. Okay, I'm glad I could help Mesmerize. And now we're going to another question down here from Retro Game Bloke. Basic steering wheel support could be good, although driving isn't supported as yet, but could be useful for anyone messing about with their own scripts, possible in a version 2 maybe. Basic steering wheel support. Basic steering wheel support. Do we mean the physical steering wheels, the old racing peripheral that you get your accelerator pedal, your steering and your gears glued to your desk, and then you can sort of do all your racing simulations with a real steering wheel? I had one of them once, but we're going back like 20 years. Do people still have real steering wheels? Or are we talking about a virtual steering wheel in the form of, say, an object and an associated script that you can then attach to your game, and then you can actually do, I don't know, left and right arrows to actually turn that steering wheel, which then maybe controls some sort of first-person vehicle experience within the game. Either way, there are no plans to add real or virtual steering wheels into version 1 of GameGuru Max, and that's why you put V2 at the end, isn't it? Okay, there's always the possibility of more being added after version 1, but our goal is to make sure that we get to version 1 with something that's rock solid and is able to let people make games, people to make games that are good enough to sell on Steam and not disappoint an army of users. Okay, Pixar, okay, so that's not a question for me. Questions. Is there any more questions? Okay, more information, but my eyes locked in on it, so I'm going to read it all. This is from Retro 6502. Yes, the 6502 was the VIC-20. Of course it was. It was the 68,000 that was later, that I also learned. Variation 6507, 6510, I programmed that. 65186, I didn't do that one. We're a lot on the Commodore, Atari, Apple, and Nintendo systems. Yeah. I think I did assembly on all of them. VIC-20, Commodore 64, Amiga 500, all the way through to the demise, or the almost certain demise of Commodore, and then switched over to, I think it was the 386, 486 Pentium, and the journey began. So yeah, thanks for that reminder. Nice little blast from the past there. A bloody mean attractive. Thanks for the thorough and honest answers. I always do my best. Question. There's a tiny feature request. There's no such thing as a tiny feature request. I asked for a year ago. What if I wanted to try and tackle it myself and submit it for implementation? How would I do that? Oh yes, this is the sort of thing we want to hear. In fact, I've been training up my own brother to do that very thing, and it's very, very easy. All you've got to do is go onto the GameGuru Max repository. It's available. Then you can clone it to get it onto your computer. There's instructions on the homepage. Just follow those instructions. By the time you get to the last line of the instructions, you will have downloaded the source code to the software, compiled it, added those files to where they need to be, run it, and you're running your own compiled version of GameGuru Max. That's your starting point. The next step is to start small. Pick something really easy that you can change. I don't know, it could be anything. Just, change this image, game storyboard, to my game storyboard, or put your photograph in the top right, this image, or change these names, add new level to, add really cool new level. I mean, all of this can be changed from the source code, and by that point you'll already have compiled and run it, so they can go back into the source code in Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio, and then make some small changes, and then work from without. So start small and start inside the software, and then start moving out. The moment you start breaking things, the software stops running. Then you can backtrack till it works again, and then move a bit slower. And eventually you'll grow out of that working situation and expand your scope into more areas. So that's what I would suggest. Follow the repo instructions, get things up and running, find the tiniest thing you can find to change, build your confidence in that area, and then start being a bit more outlandish, a bit more experimental. Don't worry if you break it, it's just your own local copy of the source code. You cannot break the master repository on GitHub, not unless you're some hacker. But that's what I would recommend, and I would recommend everybody to try this. Think about it. Instead of waiting around for TGT to finally get around to that feature request that literally would have taken them 5 minutes, you could have used your own 10 minutes and added the feature, and now you've got it. And also, a cool bonus point, if you feel like it, submit that as a pull request to the main repo. If we like it, we'll put it into the software so everyone can enjoy it. But obviously that's not a requirement, just a request. And it's something community members like Preben have really taken to heart and literally submit everything they do to the GameGuru Max repo, which is awesome. Okay, I think I have lost my thread. I'm going to find it again. I think, am I okay to not scroll back? Okay, maybe I have to scroll back. Okay. So I found the question, which was that one. And this was another question, no. And these aren't questions. And there is a question here from Mesmeraz, who has one more question. I've been saying he asked all these questions. This is one more question. Who's the new guy making the DLC reviews? Also, why is it all DLCs that are being reviewed? I'll answer the second part first. We have a lot of DLCs, and a lot of them never really got any kind of exposure on our YouTube channel. We created a video for them, but it was a short one just for Steam, and then that was it. And we realised, you know, a lot of people don't really know about the DLCs, or if they do, they only know it as a screenshot or as one of many items on a big list. Wouldn't it be great if we could give them sort of an extra life by showing it on our YouTube channel? So that was the plan. And kindly, one of our community members said, you know what, I don't mind. If you give me a DLC for free, I don't mind making a video about it. Now, for TGC, that was a no-brainer. So he's like, yeah, that's absolutely fine, do that. So that's why you've seen old ones. It's not like we've changed them or anything. It's just that we want all of our DLCs to be discoverable from our YouTube channel. So you get a lot more detail. Even the ones on Steam were really just a quick blast through of the content, but the videos that you're seeing showing up on YouTube really go into it and show you the pluses and the minuses of what you can and can't do with the DLC content. Really good content, good coverage, well edited, highly polished. So more to follow. More to follow on that. And the first part of your two-part question is who's doing it? Well, you can go onto Discord and ask. You know, we have a very active, vocal, talkative community. It will not take you very long at all to find out who's doing what in our community. Okay, question the next is, you want to take this... No, it's not a question for me. That's not a question for me. Okay, I'm going to go to the very bottom. This is the very bottom. Of course it's the very bottom. And there's no more questions. And I'm looking at the clock. And I did as I promised. We actually knocked that hour out the park. We're now 70 minutes into an hour. No one in their right mind should be listening to on YouTube right now. Nobody watches a 77-minute video. So there's no one actually listening to me right now. Apart from you guys and gals. So that's basically it. If you've got any more questions, please feel free to ask. For the time being, this might be the only time you hear my voice. After that, you'll hear the electronic version of me through all the other various channels that we can use to exchange knowledge and wisdom. Here is a question. 3Com says goodbye. Yes, sorry. People need their sleep. Praxa asks, I'm not sure if you're already answered, but how is the bug solution list going along for guys? Not sure, many workarounds it sounds like. Yeah, I'm not too phrased with 27 bugs. 27 bugs feels like we're really winning. We've cleaned up the issues board a lot. So once we got rid of, say, 20, we're into single digits. It'd be nice if we can keep it at single digits. Until such time as an actual real serious bug in GameGuru Max is a bit of a rarity, that's where I'd like to be. So yeah, I'm not too phased about the bugs. The bug count, I mean. Happy Halloween to you too. Okay, question from Mohammed. Can we add more favorites? Favorites 2 and favorites 3 in the object library and change the text color. There are no plans to add favorites 1, 2 and 3 or being able to change the text color. But as previously hinted at, you can actually go into the repository, download the source code, make those changes in the code, compile, run, and you can have those features from your own hands if you want to. It's a good challenge and it's not impossible. In fact, it's relatively easy. So go for it. Okay, so I think that's it. I'm probably going to give the dog I mean, it's pitch black, but I am going to give the dog a walk. He has been waiting very patiently. I was expecting him to do a lot of whinging and moaning, and he's been very well behaved. So I think he deserves a midnight, completely invisible walk around the rock 3 times. So as I said, this is, for those who are joining us an hour late and surprised that the broadcast is still going on, this will be the last of the GameGuru Max live broadcasts for the time being. We will be introducing a new format, which is video updates, which are more pre-recorded and edited and will be out on time, and hopefully will give you more of a quick blast of what's going on both internally and in the community. So thanks very much for your attendance over the years. Yes, it's been 9 years, I think, probably more like 10 years. And you've been putting up with me and my voice and my extremely long rants on our live broadcasts. And I hope it was of some use and you got some enjoyment out of it. The work will continue. GameGuru Max has a great future. I think it's an awesome idea, being able to make games without coding or using 3D modelers, etc. And I am very much looking forward to some awesome games being released in the next year using a little game maker. So thanks very much for joining us, and I will speak to you in the far future in whatever format I eventually end up in. So until then, I shall say goodbye and happy game making.